Sophia Martins was 24 years old and had a heart that trusted people too much. Since she was a child, she had learned that life could be harsh, but kindness always opened doors. An only child, she grew up helping her parents in their small neighborhood grocery store, surrounded by the aroma of fresh coffee and warm bread. Maybe that's why, years later, she chose to work at a charming coffee shop in the city center, a place that became almost an extension of her home. The coffee shop was the kind of place where stories began, couples met for the first time, writers scribbled ideas on napkins, and friends laughed until they lost track of time. And there was Sophia, always smiling, wearing her beige apron and simple updo, serving cappuccinos with little hearts in the foam. She believed that, somehow, spreading small doses of affection into the world could change someone's day. And among those people was Helena Duarte, her best friend since high school. Helena was the opposite of Sophia, where Sophia was calm and reserved, Helena was bold and outgoing. Always impeccably dressed, with perfect makeup and eyes that seemed to know more than they revealed. They met by chance, when Helena defended Sophia from a mean classmate at school. From that day on, Helena became like a sister, a confidant and, often, the voice that pushed Sophia out of her comfort zone. But there was something about Helena that everyone noticed, except Sophia. A magnetic self-confidence, almost dangerous. Helena didn't just enter a room, she owned it. She loved being the center of attention, and her life always seemed more intense than anyone else's. Still, for Sophia, that wasn't a flaw, it was just part of her friend's charm. It was on a rainy afternoon that Sophia met Daniel Costa. He walked into the coffee shop with a broken umbrella and a shy smile, ordering a coffee to warm up. His deep brown eyes held something hard to define, a mix of safety and mystery. In the days that followed, he came back. First, for another coffee. Then, to ask about the cake Sophia baked herself. And finally, to ask about her. In just a few weeks, what started as a simple customer relationship became something more. Daniel, with his attentive manner, started walking to the coffee shop just to see her, even when he didn't have a reason to be nearby. For Sophia, it felt like living a movie romance. He seemed genuinely interested in every detail of her life, and there wasn't a single moment when she didn't feel valued in his presence. Helena, as always, was there to hear every detail. "Girl, this guy is a prince," she'd say, fiddling with her phone. Sometimes Sophia caught a strange glint in Helena's eyes when she talked about Daniel, but she quickly brushed it off. After all, this was Helena, her best friend, the one who knew her fears, dreams, and secrets. At that moment, everything seemed perfect. Sophia had a job she loved, an inseparable best friend, and a boyfriend who seemed straight out of a fairy tale. The scene was set, laughter in the coffee shop, sunset dates, late-night conversations. But like every good drama, the calm surface hid cracks that would soon be impossible to ignore. Sophia didn't know it yet, but every smile, every coffee served, and every hug in the coffee shop's hallway was part of a delicate game that was about to fall apart. She believed she knew the people around her. But she was about to find out that sometimes, the worst pain doesn't come from an enemy, it comes from the ones we love the most. For Sophia, Helena was more than a friend, she was the sister life had chosen for her. They had shared almost everything, lazy afternoons in the bedroom listening to music, midnight secrets, tears over failed loves, and laughter over things only the two of them understood. There was a trust between them that seemed impossible to break. Their story began when Sophia, still a teenager, started at a new school and felt completely lost. Helena, with her vibrant presence, was the first to approach. She remembered the day clearly. Helena threw her arm around Sophia's shoulder and said, "You're sitting with me at lunch. And I'm not taking no for an answer." From that moment, they were inseparable. As adults, that bond only grew stronger. Helena knew every detail of Sophia's life, from the exact number of steps from the coffee shop to her apartment, to the dreams Sophia had never dared tell anyone else. And Sophia knew her friend, or at least, she thought she did. Helena was a constant presence at every important moment. When Sophia started dating Daniel, Helena was the first person she introduced him to. The scene was etched in her memory, Helena walking into the coffee shop in a striking red dress, her heels echoing against the wooden floor, and that charming smile that always seemed to light up the room. Daniel stood to greet her, and for an instant, Sophia thought she saw something different in his eyes, but she pushed the thought away like swatting at an annoying mosquito. The next 3 weeks played out almost like a perfect script. Daniel, attentive as ever, became more and more involved with Sophia. Helena, always by her side, seemed genuinely happy for her friend. They went out together for dinners, outings, and even short weekend trips. It was common to see Helena leaning against the coffee shop door, waiting for Sophia to finish her shift so they could all leave together. Their friendship was so strong that Sophia could never imagine anything being wrong. When Helena told her, "I just want to see you happy, my friend," Sophia believed it without question. There was no reason to doubt her. After all, how could you question someone who had been there for every wound and every victory in your life? But there were small, almost imperceptible details starting to appear. Helena's touch on Daniel's arm lasting a little too long, inside jokes Sophia didn't understand, the way they sometimes exchanged quick glances before going back to conversation as if nothing had happened. Sophia, ever naive, chalked it up to the friendship the two were building. Deep down, though, Helena seemed to be everywhere. When Sophia and Daniel made plans, it wasn't unusual for Helena to show up by chance. And whenever Sophia talked about her feelings for Daniel, Helena would respond with a smile and ambiguous phrases like, "He's really special," or, "You're lucky, my friend." The bond Sophia believed to be unbreakable was about to be tested like never before. But she was still living under the illusion that some relationships were eternal. She didn't yet realize that the greatest betrayals don't begin with one sudden act, but with small gestures that slowly erode trust until nothing is left. Over time, small situations began to pile up, forming a puzzle Sophia didn't want to solve. They were subtle things, almost invisible to anyone not paying attention, and in her case, her love for Daniel and trust in Helena acted like a blindfold. The first sign came one night when Daniel and Sophia went out to dinner and, in the middle of the conversation, he casually mentioned that Helena had given him a great idea for decorating the new apartment. Sophia smiled, thinking it was normal for the two of them to talk, since she always included them in everything. But deep down, something stirred inside her. Helena was helping Daniel with things that, until then, had belonged only to the private world of the couple. The second sign was even more unsettling. Sophia got home early from work and found Helena and Daniel in the kitchen, laughing about something she didn't understand. When she asked what it was, Helena simply replied with an enigmatic, "It's an inside joke, my friend, you wouldn't get it." That sentence echoed in Sophia's mind for days. Then there was the way Helena dressed when she knew she would be seeing Daniel. It wasn't anything openly provocative, but there was always extra effort, the strongest perfume, lipstick in a shade Sophia had never seen before, the way she touched her hair when he spoke. Calculated gestures, but easy to miss if seen on their own. Daniel, for his part, seemed to change subtly when Helena was around. His smile grew wider, their conversations lighter. Sophia noticed that, sometimes, he would reply to messages on his phone and quickly look away, as if he didn't want her to see. But again, she chose not to confront him. She believed trust was the foundation of any relationship, and that jealousy without proof would only destroy what they had built. The fourth sign was the most obvious, and the hardest to ignore. On Sophia's birthday, Helena organized a surprise party. During the toast, while everyone was looking at her, Sophia caught Helena and Daniel exchanging a silent, intense, almost conspiratorial look. It wasn't the look of two friends, but she shut the thought out like someone closing a door before the wind can get in. The truth was, Sophia didn't want to see it. She made excuses for every detail. "They're just friends. I'm imagining things. Helena would never do that to me." But behind Helena's smile and Daniel's sweet words, something was already unfolding. And every small sign she ignored was like a stone being pulled from the foundation of a castle, ready to collapse. Sophia's blind trust was slowly becoming the most dangerous weapon against herself. And when the truth finally came out, she would realize all the warnings had already been given, she just chose not to listen. The day the facade began to crack didn't come with thunder or dramatic announcements. It arrived disguised as something ordinary, the opening of an art gallery downtown, where Sophia's cafe would be catering. The kind of occasion where Helena shined, Daniel mingled effortlessly, and Sophia worked behind the scenes, proud but exhausted. She'd been running around since early morning, calibrating the portable espresso machine, checking the macarons, arranging the little handwritten tags. Helena showed up already dressed, in a green dress that brought out her eyes and a showroom-perfect smile. She approached Sophia with a hug that smelled just a little too strong. "You look perfect, my friend," she said, eyeing her up and down as if assessing a display. "Daniel's going to be proud." Sophia smiled, too busy to linger on the words. Daniel arrived shortly after, in a suit, hair perfectly in place. He greeted her with a quick kiss and a compliment, "You're the reason this event feels like home." It was a beautiful line, maybe even sincere, but Sophia noticed his subtle glance toward Helena, who returned it with a spark that would go unnoticed by anyone not paying attention. The first sting gnawed at her from the inside. She took a deep breath, adjusted her apron, and went back to work. The gallery filled. Glasses clinked, voices floated around the room, photographers asked for poses. Every now and then, Sophia looked up to see Helena and Daniel surrounded by important people. They moved in sync, as if they had rehearsed this social circuit. She pushed away the pang of jealousy, reminding herself they were all part of the same circle, and that trust was a daily choice. Midway through the event, the curator asked Daniel to meet an investor. Helena, quick as ever, offered to help with translations. The two disappeared through a side door. Sophia kept serving coffee, until she noticed the trays had started coming back full again, a sign the crowd had drifted to the back, where there were interactive installations. One staff member commented, "Everyone's gone to see the mirror room." Down the hallway, to the right. Sophia decided to check it out. Not for artistic curiosity, but to catch her breath. The hallway was narrow, lined with old photographs and dim lighting. As she walked, muffled voices reached her. She recognized them instantly. She froze, like tripping into silence. "You know she trusts you," Daniel said, tense. "I know many things, Danny," Helena replied, in that tone Sophia knew all too well, the half-smile that always came before she got what she wanted. "Some of them you'd rather I didn't say out loud." The air thickened. Seconds stretched like elastic. Sophia stepped closer, her heartbeat pounding in her throat. She didn't want to hear, but couldn't walk away. "Don't start," Daniel muttered. "Not today." "Today was always the day," Helena said softly. "You just weren't ready to admit it." Sophia stepped back, her shoe squeaking on the polished floor. Silence. She moved away, but not fast enough. Helena appeared in the hallway, smile flawless. "There you are. We were talking about you," she said as if nothing had happened. The curator loved the coffee. Daniel followed close behind, straightening his tie, his eyes too dark for the corridor's light. "Everything okay?" he asked Sophia. She nodded, swallowing the metallic taste of something she couldn't name. "Yeah, I just came to see the mirror room." Helena hooked her arm through Sophia's, guiding her to the installation. Mirrors everywhere, multiplying faces, duplicating tiny gestures. A piece about perceptions and fragmented truths, according to the plaque. Sophia stared at her own reflection multiplied tenfold, and in each version she saw a different question. In the background, Helena's reflection beside Daniel's looked closer than the real distance allowed, a trick of perspective that hurt more than it should have. When the event ended, Sophia gathered her things. Outside, she noticed Daniel's keychain hanging from his suit pocket. "Your key," she said, holding it out. "Thanks," he replied, taking it a bit faster than necessary. Helena caught the moment from the corner of her eye. "I'll ride with you guys. I need to pass near your neighborhood." In the car, silence settled in like a fourth passenger. The radio played soft pop, out of place. At a red light, Helena rummaged through her bag and dropped a lipstick, deep red. Sophia bent to pick it up, when she lifted it. She recognized the brand, the same shade that had stained the rim of Daniel's glass earlier that night. A small coincidence, she told herself. Small, insistent, sharp. At Sophia's building, Helena said, "Goodbye, with a kiss on the cheek, her perfume clinging. Upstairs, Sophia went straight to the bedroom, trying to name what she felt. Anger? Fear? Shame for even suspecting? She tossed her bag onto the chair, and only then saw it, tucked into the lining, clipped to the zipper, was a small folded card. Not hers. She opened it. A note, written in slanted handwriting. When the painting is revealed, remember this, I've always been on your side. H, her hands trembled. H for Helena. I've always been on your side. The irony stung. Daniel knocked softly at the door. Can I come in? Sophia took a deep breath, slipped the note into her jeans pocket. You can. He entered, no jacket, just his shirt. He looked tired, maybe even vulnerable. How are you? Tired, she replied, staring out the window. It was a good event. It was. You shined. This time, the words didn't reach her. The images from the hallway, the reflection in the mirror room, the stained glass, the note, they all merged into one heavy mass. Sophia looked at Daniel. You and Helena, are you hiding something from me? Daniel faltered. A long blink, a micro-gesture she'd never seen from him before. No, he said, too quickly. Then look me in the eye and say it again, she asked, her voice steady. He looked, and glanced away a second later, as if the light hurt him. I don't want to argue right now, Sophia. The crack had finally opened. It wasn't a breakup, not yet a collapse, but the first visible, irreversible fracture. Sophia nodded, a faint sad smile on her lips. All right. We'll talk later. When Daniel left, she took the note from her pocket and traced the signature with her finger. Helena's perfume lingered on the paper. I've always been on your side. Somewhere between friendship and lies, that phrase had become a threat. Sophia turned off the light and, in the dark, made a simple, final decision: she would stop ignoring the signs. The next day, she would start looking for answers, even if they hurt. Because the worst pain wasn't finding out the truth, it was living inside a comfortable lie. And deep down, she knew, the next step wouldn't be a suspicion. It would be the discovery. Sophia woke before sunrise. Sleep had been a series of sharp cuts: the hallway, the mirrors, Helena's perfume on the note, Daniel's averted gaze. There was no longer room for merciful doubt. She decided she would move through the day like someone collecting shards, slowly, carefully, but without avoiding the cut. The cafe opened at 7. The first curl of coffee steam rose like a signal of routine. But inside, she was on full alert. At 9, Camila walked in, coat over her arm and that look that always seemed to see more than was said. You vanished at the event yesterday, she said, leaning against the counter. Something happened? Sophia thought about saying nothing. Instead, she handed over Helena's note. Camila read it slowly, eyebrows lifting. That's not a friend's message. That's a territorial mark. I know, Sophia replied quietly. I want certainty. I need facts. Camila nodded, pragmatic, then let's get facts. Where do you think they meet when it's supposedly a nothing? Sophia took a breath, pulling from memory the last few weeks, messages Daniel claimed to answer from work, photos Helena posted from rooftops and discreet restaurants. One address repeated in the captions, a smaller gallery, a branch of the same curator, with a cafe downstairs where Helena loved to breathe art. I'll stop by this afternoon, Sophia said. I'm not making a scene. Just watching. The day dragged with the cruel precision of a clock. At noon, she texted Daniel, lunch at 1? The reply came fast, impossible. Long meeting. At 12:58, Helena posted a story, 2 wine glasses clinking, captioned business can't wait. Sophia's stomach dropped, yet she took a deep breath, swapped her apron for a coat, and left. The small gallery sat on a tree-lined, discreet street where the city seemed to nap. On the ground floor, a cafe with round tables and soft yellow light. Sophia walked in, choosing a table near the back, where she could see without being seen. She ordered a tea she had no intention of drinking. 15 minutes of nothing. Then the glass doors slid open. Daniel entered first, no suit, just a dark shirt, phone in hand. Helena followed, oversized sunglasses, wearing the smile she saved for when she knew she owned the room. They sat in a corner, facing each other. The waiter brought 2 glasses of wine as if it were routine. Sophia's heart pounded, but she didn't look away. She wanted facts. She saw Helena adjust the cuff of Daniel's shirt, fingers lingering. Daniel pulled back slightly, hesitated, then let her continue. That wasn't accidental. It wasn't new. It was habit. Her phone buzzed in her bag. Camila, want me to come? Sophia typed, no. I need to see this alone. Helena took a slim envelope from her bag, sliding it across the table to Daniel. He didn't open it right away. They spoke quietly, too low to hear, but Helena's face was far too calm for just business. Then she stood and went to the counter to pay, alone, an intimate, almost domestic gesture, the kind born of comfort in someone else's everyday life. As Helena walked past Sophia's table, she either didn't notice her, or pretended not to. Daniel remained, handling the envelope. He finally opened it, read, folded it again. Then he picked up his phone and typed. 1 minute later, Sophia's phone lit up. Daniel, miss you. It's a tough day. I'll pick you up at 8? Sophia closed her eyes for a second, as if absorbing a slap. She didn't reply. She stood, paid for her untouched tea, and stepped into the cool street air. She walked aimlessly for 2 blocks until a shop window reflected her own image, pale, steady, fists hidden in her coat pockets. The day no longer fit inside half-truths. At 8 p.m., Daniel arrived at the cafe, punctual as promised. The smile he wore was his public one, polite, rehearsed. Shall we? He asked, offering his hand like fulfilling a ritual. Sophia didn't take it. She closed the shop door, flipped the sign till closed, and faced him. Did you have a long meeting this afternoon? She asked, slowly. I did, he said, without the pause needed to think. Why? Sophia took Helena's note from her pocket, set it on the counter. And this? Does she give these when I'm standing right there too? Daniel's face shifted just enough to confirm more than any words could. He picked up the note, read it, exhaled like a man searching for a script he didn't have. Sophia, it's not what you think. Then help me think straight, she said, voice steady. Today, at the gallery on Just Sarah Street, 2:17 p.m. You and Helena. 2 glasses. An envelope. I was there. The silence between them was heavy as steel. For a moment, Daniel searched for words. When he spoke, his voice was low, sincere enough to feel dangerous. I messed up. The phrase tore a rip in Sophia's reality. Not because it confirmed what she'd seen, but because, for a fleeting second, she almost believed honesty had finally entered the room. Where? She asked. On the way there? In the touch? In the envelope? Or during all the time I loved you while you were handling business? Daniel closed his eyes, ran a hand over his face. Helena, she knows things about my past. She uses them. I tried to keep my distance, I swear. But, he stumbled, searching, I wasn't strong enough. A strange calm settled in Sophia, replacing panic. The calm of someone who has finally reached the edge of the map. Not strong enough for what, Daniel? She pressed. To say no? To tell me? Or to not cross the line? He faced his guilt with a late honesty. I crossed the line. The words didn't explode, they seeped in, like cold water rising to her knees. Sophia inhaled, braced her hands against the counter to keep from shaking. She looked at him like someone saying, goodbye, to a version of the world. Thanks, at least, for not calling me crazy. Daniel stepped forward, as if closeness could fix the unfixable. I want to make it right. I can make it right. Not today, she cut in, firm. Today is the day I see. Tomorrow, maybe, is the day I decide. He nodded silently. There was something in his eyes, regret, fear, love tangled with possession, that Sophia didn't want to decipher. She grabbed the keys, walked to the door, and opened it. Go, Daniel. I need to close. He stopped in the doorway. I'll come back tomorrow. Sophia promised nothing. She locked the door, turned off the lights, and stayed in the dark with the low hum of the city outside. In the silence, she texted Camila, I saw. Camila replied within seconds, I'm coming. Sophia didn't need an audience for her pain. She needed ground. And the truth, as hard as it was the only solid ground she had. There, in the dark of the cafe that had always smelled like home, she understood, her friendship with Helena had an old crack, her love for Daniel had a gap she no longer fit into. And yet, beneath the rubble, a thought burned like an ember, I'm not done here. Tomorrow wouldn't be about proof. It would be about choices. And for the first time, Sophia was ready to choose herself. Helena always knew how to make an entrance. That night, the bar where they used to meet was at its peak, low music, muffled laughter, and a sweet floral scent in the air. It was the same place where, years ago, they had sworn eternal friendship over glasses and secrets. A perfect setting, but this time, not for celebrations. Sophia arrived first. She chose the same table as always, in the corner by the window. The reflection in the glass showed a woman she barely recognized, eyes locked, shoulders squared, breathing slow and steady. There was no room for hesitation. Helena appeared 10 minutes later, wrapped in a beige coat and a ready smile. Sophie, she said, as if nothing were out of place. It's so good to see you. I really needed to talk. Sophia didn't return the hug her friend tried to give. I need to talk too, she said, pointing to the chair. Helena sat down, looking slightly uneasy, but kept the smile. Is everything okay? You've been gone these past few days. Sophia placed the scented note on the table. Recognize this? Helena's smile didn't fall immediately. First, there was a slight blink, a quick calculation, then a shrug. Oh, it's just a joke, Sophie. You know how dramatic I can be. Dramatic? Sophia repeated, voice controlled. Sending a message like this to my boyfriend and asking him to meet you in secret is now being dramatic? Helena leaned back in her chair, her gaze turning colder, almost assessing. Do you think Daniel is only yours? She asked in a tone so light it hurt more than a shout. Do you really think he didn't come looking for me? The air seemed to shrink around the table. Sophia felt her face heat up, but she didn't look away. He told me you used things from his past to blackmail him. Is that true? Helena smiled, but not a friendly smile, it was sharp, the kind that no longer needs to pretend. Blackmail him? No, darling. I just remind him that some stories can't be forgotten. And he knows he doesn't have to pretend to be perfect with me. The silence that followed was almost unbearable. Sophia took a deep breath, feeling the weight of all the years she had trusted that woman. You were my friend, Helena. I still am, she said, leaning forward. But friendship isn't exclusivity. Sophia didn't answer right away. She was busy fighting the urge to get up and leave. But something in her chest demanded to be said. You never wanted to be my friend. You wanted to compete with me. At work, at parties, and now, in love. Helena let out a short, humorless laugh. Love? You think what he feels for you is love? He likes your sweetness, the way you take care of him. But with me, he's real. The words cut like glass. Sophia realized Helena wasn't there to deny anything, but to claim something. You know what's real, Helena? She said firmly. What I saw today. The two of you together in the corner of a cafe, like some old couple. And you know what else is real? Me walking away from this table without competing for a man who can't make a choice. Helena raised an eyebrow but didn't try to stop her friend from leaving. She only said, with a half-poisonous smile, maybe, Sophie, he'll choose me tomorrow. Sophia stood up, her legs shaking, not from fear, but from pure adrenaline. And maybe, Helena, tomorrow I won't be waiting for any choice at all. She left the bar without looking back. The cold street greeted her like a shock of reality, but also like a reminder, the war Helena wanted wasn't one Sophia was willing to fight. Deep down, though, she knew Helena's words would echo until the next day. Because tomorrow wouldn't just be the day Sophia made her decision, it would be the day she found out just how far Daniel was willing to go. Dawn seemed to come early, as if the city was in a hurry to see what Sophia would do. She woke up before the alarm, with the strange feeling of being exactly where she needed to be, on the edge. The pale morning light drew rectangles on the living room floor. On the stove, the kettle whistled. The smell of coffee rose like a ritual. She took a deep breath, picked up her phone, and wrote. To Daniel, today at 6 p.m. Pinheiro Square. Just us. To Helena, 7 p.m. Same place. There were no more messages to send. Anything said by text would only drag out the agony. At the coffee shop, Camila could tell at first glance that this wouldn't be an ordinary Tuesday. Have you decided? She asked, pouring 2 cups. I've decided to stop deciding out of fear, Sophia replied. The rest. I'll figure out this afternoon. Camila nodded, in a silence that said I'm here. The day moved like a film in slow motion. Customers, orders, measured smiles. Beneath it all, the underground story pulsed, the table, the square, 6 p.m. At 5:40, Sophia closed the register, handed the keys to an employee, and walked out wearing the brown coat she used when she needed to remind herself she was grounded. Pinheiro Square was an old refuge of the city, wooden benches, a central tree that seemed to hold generations of secrets, children chasing pigeons, and a candy seller who never seemed to age. At exactly 6 p.m., Daniel arrived. No suit, no armor. New shadows under his eyes, hair a little messy, betraying the rush. He sat at a distance that respected Sophia's invisible this far. Thanks for coming, he said softly. I told you I'd decide today, Sophia replied. And I've decided that truth comes before choice. Daniel took a breath, like someone diving and coming back with something the world should have known long ago. I betrayed your trust. I won't ask you to forget. I could promise not to do it again, but empty promises are cheap. So? I give you what I have, the truth. He pulled an envelope from his pocket, not Helena's, another one. He opened it slowly. Here are the messages, the meetings, everything I hid. You can read them. I've read them 1,000 times. What I can't bear to read anymore is your expression when you realized I lied. Sophia didn't take the papers. I don't want a guilt file, Daniel. I want to understand why you allowed it. He looked at her, without flinching. I was a coward. Helena touches a part of my past I never fixed. With her, I pretended to be a man who didn't need love to be wanted. With you, I had to be real, and I wasn't brave enough for what you deserved. The sincerity cut clean and deep. Sophia looked at her hands, then at the tree. Do you love me? She asked, without drama, like checking a wound. I do, he said without hesitation. But loving you didn't stop me from being weak. The square's invisible clock struck 6:38. A group of teens laughed loudly near the fountain, an old lady fed pigeons. Life went on. If I stay, Sophia said, it won't be to watch over you. It'll be to rebuild with me. This, she pointed to her chest, is a 2-person job. Can you handle that? I can, Daniel replied. And if you don't stay, I'll accept it. Not with peace, but with respect. She was about to answer when she felt the wind shift. Helena was approaching, immaculate, 7 p.m. ahead of schedule. Her heels announced her arrival. She stopped a few steps away, assessed the scene, and lifted a smile. What a pretty picture, she said. The square, the forgiveness, all that's missing is flowers. Sophia stood. I called you here, Helena, because I'd rather say it looking into your eyes. Today I choose. And whatever my choice, you're out of my life. Helena's smile trembled a fraction. You talk like I'm some accessory, Sophie. You forget I was your foundation for years? A foundation doesn't knock down what it's supposed to hold, Sophia shot back. You had my friendship and used it as a pass to cross the one boundary I asked you to respect. Helena went for the final blow, the one that always worked, poisoned reason. He came to me. He wanted this. You're too naive to understand what real desire is. Daniel cut in, firmly, Helena, enough. I messed up. Alone. And I let you use my mistake as a weapon. But that ends here. She laughed, but her eyes knew otherwise. Ends? Oh, Danny, you think it ends because she decided? Sweetheart. I still have the messages, the times, the places. If you think you can pretend it never happened, enough. Sophia interrupted, surprising them both. You have things? I have something you'll never have, peace. And today I take away your permission to hurt me. The rest is just noise. Helena closed her purse, as if realizing her hammer had gotten too light. You're choosing him? After everything? Sophia took a breath. Today I choose me. And choosing me, Helena, means not competing with you for anyone. Not even him. Silence. Daniel opened his mouth, closed it. What does that mean? He asked carefully. It means I'm leaving for a while, Sophia said. It's not punishment. It's healing. You'll deal with your shadows without hiding behind me. And you, Helena, you'll live with the echo of what you chose. From far away. Helena tried to roar, but found only dust. You won't last. You'll miss me. I've always been, by my side? Sophia finished. You've been by my side as a shadow. I prefer the sun, even if it burns my eyes. She took from her pocket a delicate ring, not an engagement ring, but a gift Daniel had given her at the beginning, a symbol of the beginnings. She placed it in his hand. Keep it. If one day we're both people who choose each other without fear, you'll know. Don't look for me before then. Daniel nodded, loss written without shouting. I'll be that person, he said, more to himself than to her. Be it for you, not for me, Sophia replied. As for Helena, Sophia took the final step, I'm done forgiving you. The loyalty I gave you, you broke. What I give you now is a boundary. Don't call me. Don't show up. Don't use my name to get anywhere. If you respect me, I'll respect your silence. If not, I'm no longer afraid of what you have. I have the truth, and it knows how to walk. The villain, with the easy smile, for the first time, had no comeback. She blinked, took a short breath, turned, and walked away with hard steps, retreating without admitting it. Sophia and Daniel stayed in the square for one more minute. The candy seller passed by offering caramels, she bought two and left one on the bench. Goodbye. For now, she said simply. Until it's right, he replied. Sophia walked in the opposite direction from where Helena had gone. The wind lifted strands of her hair, and the old tree scattered leaves like discreet applause. She didn't have a perfect plan, nor a guaranteed happy ending. She had something greater, the autonomy to write the next scene without letting anyone else hold her pen. That night, she sent one last message to Camila, I chose. Me. Camila replied with a heart and a see you tomorrow at 7, coffee and a new road. Amu Amo, the day of decision brought no fireworks, but it opened a path. And when Sophia lay down, without scented notes, without square alibis, she knew the greatest betrayal she could commit against herself would be to stay in a place where her worth depended on the eyes of someone who couldn't see it. Tomorrow, the story would go on, with or without Daniel. Definitely without Helena. And finally, with Sophia at the center. The next day, the city woke up the same. Traffic on the main street was still noisy, the smell of fresh bread drifted from the bakeries, and people hurried along the sidewalks. But for Sophia, everything felt heavier, or maybe clearer. She had done something she'd never allowed herself to do, put herself before any bond, before any excuse, before any love story or friendship. At 7 a.m., she was at the cafe. Camila greeted her with a tight hug and a knowing silence. "Sleep well?" she asked, pouring the coffee. "A little. But it wasn't the sleep I expected, it was better." Sophia gave a half smile. It was the sleep of someone who doesn't need to rehearse answers anymore. As she served the usual customers, her mind still wandered back to the scene at the square. Daniel's unguarded look, Helena's poisonous smile, and the sharp sense that there was no going back from what she had said. And strangely, she didn't want to go back. Around 10 a.m., her phone buzzed. A message from Daniel: "I respect your space. Just wanted to say I started therapy today. Thank you for showing me I needed it." She stared at the screen for a few seconds, took a deep breath, and left it unanswered. Not out of indifference, but because she didn't want to rush her own time. Yesterday's decision was still too fresh to be tested. Helena, however, didn't take long. At 1 p.m., a social media notification popped up, a story clearly aimed at Sophia, captioned, "Some people pretend to be strong, but all they know how to do is run away." Camila glanced over her shoulder. "That woman never quits, huh?" "She does," Sophia replied, putting her phone away. "She just doesn't know it yet." In the late afternoon, Sophia went to visit Dona Lucia, the elderly neighbor who always gave advice disguised as old stories. They sat on the porch with chamomile tea. "You did the right thing, my dear," said Dona Lucia, without needing context. "The right thing hurts at first, but it eases after. Like pulling out a splinter." "And what if the splinter was someone I love?" Sophia asked. "Then it's even worse to leave it in. A splinter inside festers all the way to the heart." Back home, the apartment's silence felt different. It was no longer the echo of loneliness, but a clean space where every corner belonged to her. She sat on the couch, opened a notebook, and began to write. Not a letter to Daniel, nor to Helena, but to herself. She wrote about loyalty, about boundaries, about how true love can't survive in a minefield. In the days that followed, there were curious looks in the small town. Some whispered that Sophia had lost her boyfriend to her best friend. Others said she had thrown away the man of her life. She didn't correct anyone. She'd learned that the more you explain, the more fuel you give for made-up versions. The real turning point came on Saturday. Camila invited her to a community charity event. Between conversations and live music, Sophia felt something she hadn't in a long time: lightness. It wasn't complete happiness, but it was a start. On the way out, she realized she hadn't thought about Daniel or Helena for hours, and for her, that was a quiet victory. That night, at home, she got an unexpected call. It was Clara, an old friend she hadn't spoken to in years. "I heard about everything. And I just want to say I admire your courage. Not everyone has the strength to walk away from a triangle like that without losing themselves." The conversation lasted for hours, bringing back good memories and reminding her that some relationships make you stronger, not weaker. 8 days after the square, Sophia was walking down the street when she suddenly crossed paths with Daniel. He stopped, hesitated, but smiled. "You look more alive," he said, almost as a compliment. "I am," Sophia replied. "And I hope you are too, someday." They walked in opposite directions. No anger, just the understanding that some chapters close so others can begin, even if you don't yet know what they ll. Deep down, Sophia knew the consequences of her decision wouldn't just be the distance from Daniel and Helena. They would be, above all, the beginning of a new version of herself. A version that knew her worth, that understood the worst betrayal is the one you commit against your own essence. And now, more than ever, she was determined not to betray herself. Never again. Almost a month had passed since Sophia decided to distance herself from Daniel and Helena. In that time, the wounds were still there, but the healing had begun. Life felt calmer, her routine lighter, until an unexpected message threatened to break that peace. It was a rainy afternoon. Raindrops tapped against the cafe window, creating a sound that was almost hypnotic. Sophia was arranging some cups when Camila rushed in. "You won't believe what I just heard," she said, pulling off her soaked coat. "Helena's back. And worse, it seems she's been spreading some truths about you." Sophia's stomach twisted. Helena was never one to back down, but the idea of her returning just to stir things up was a dangerous game. What exactly is she saying? Sophia asked, trying to keep her composure. That you're jealous, that you made up the betrayal to break her and Daniel apart, and that now you're stalking them. Camila made air quotes. She's painting you as the villain of your own story. Sophia sighed. Part of her wanted to ignore it, to let time expose the lies. But another part knew Helena never acted without a goal. If she was making moves, there was a plan behind it. The next day, fate brought them face to face. Sophia was leaving the market with a bag when she heard her voice. What a coincidence, Helena said, stepping forward with a red umbrella and a sharp smile. Or did you follow me here? No, Helena. Pure coincidence. Sophia kept her tone steady. You know, it's funny, people love to believe whoever's playing the victim this week. But I know the truth. Helena stepped closer, lowering her voice. And if I want to, I can make everyone turn their back on you. Sophia realized this wasn't a conversation, it was a threat. But unlike before, she wasn't intimidated. You can try, but this time I won't stay silent, she said, locking eyes with her former friend. Because now I know who you are. And I'm not afraid anymore. Helena smirked, as if the challenge only fueled her. Let's see how long that courage lasts. In the following days, Helena ramped up her dirty game. Vague posts on social media, hints in group chats, poisonous comments to mutual acquaintances. Daniel, though not actively involved, did nothing to stop it. His silence hurt almost as much as the original betrayal. But what Helena didn't expect was that Sophia had allies. Camila, Clara, and even Donna Lucia began openly challenging her twisted versions of the truth. Small actions, commenting on posts, correcting rumors, sharing proof of what really happened, slowly started dismantling Helena's narrative. The turning point came at a community event. Helena, always dramatic, tried to give a speech about forgiveness and toxic relationships, clearly hinting at Sophia. But before she could finish, Camila stood up. Interesting to talk about forgiveness when there was never an apology, she said, staring straight at Helena. And curious to talk about toxic relationships when you were the one who poisoned everything. The crowd murmured. Helena lost control of the moment, her smile faltering. Sophia, watching from a distance, felt a mix of relief and justice. For the first time, her rival's mask seemed to crack. That night, back home, Sophia understood that this return of the shadows hadn't been a relapse, but a test. And this time, she passed. She didn't need to defeat Helena publicly or prove anything to everyone, only to herself. And deep down, she knew that Helena's greatest defeat would be seeing her move on, no longer carrying the weight of her shadow. The morning was bright, with sunlight filtering through Sophia's bedroom curtains. It felt different from every other morning in the past few months, no tightness in her chest, no sense of carrying an invisible weight. For the first time, she woke up feeling she didn't have to fight anyone, not even herself. The weeks after her confrontation with Helena had been strangely quiet. There were no new malicious posts, no rumors spreading. Maybe her rival had stepped back to regroup, or maybe she had realized Sophia was no longer the same woman she used to be, the one who let herself be manipulated by fear and guilt. Determined to turn the page, Sophia began reclaiming the parts of herself she'd lost in the chaos. She started drawing again, visiting places she loved. And even accepting invitations to meet new people. It was at one of those outings, an art event, that she met Lucas, a photographer with an easy smile and curious eyes. Conversation flowed naturally, without the pressure or tension she had come to associate with relationships. With him, there were no games, just lightness. Meanwhile, Daniel carried on with his life, or at least tried to. Sophia heard from acquaintances that he and Helena weren't doing as well as they appeared. Their relationship, built on secrets and betrayal, seemed to carry cracks they could no longer hide. But unlike what she might have felt months earlier, this news brought no satisfaction, only a deep understanding. What happened in their lives was no longer her concern. One afternoon, while walking along the shore, Sophia found Donna Lucia sitting on a bench, watching the sea. "You're different, girl," the old woman said with a smile. more alive. Sophia laughed, sitting beside her. I think I finally realized some things aren't lost, we free ourselves from them. That sentence echoed in Sophia's mind. Letting go wasn't about forgetting or pretending nothing had happened, it was about recognizing that the past didn't define her worth or her future. And, most importantly, that people who betray you don't deserve more space in your story. A few days later, she received an unexpected message. Camila had organized a small event to celebrate the opening of her new bakery and wanted Sophia to be there. Deep down, Sophia knew part of that invitation was symbolic, a way to show that, despite everything, there were still strong and genuine bonds in her life. At the event, while tasting a slice of cake and hearing laughter in the background, Sophia realized something. Life hadn't gone back to how it used to be, but maybe that was better. There were no illusions left to protect, and her wounds had turned into scars that told stories, not of defeat, but of survival. When she stepped outside for some air, the sky was already painted in golden and pink tones by the sunset. Lucas approached, holding 2 cups of coffee. Thought you might want one, he said, handing her a cup. Sophia smiled as she accepted it. She didn't know if Lucas would become an important part of her life, but she didn't need to know that now. A fresh start wasn't about rushing, it was about learning to move at her own pace. As she looked out at the horizon, she felt that, at last, there was room for new stories. And while the past still existed, it was now just a chapter, not the whole book.
Hey! Did you like this story? Then hit subscribe to Between Lies and Love so you won't miss the next chapters! Don't forget to like this video. It really helps us bring you more emotional, anime-style K-drama stories. And I want to know, what was your favorite part of this story? What do you think we could do better in the next episodes? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one, and your idea might even show up in the next video. So subscribe, like, comment, and join this family that loves drama, twists, and unforgettable stories.